Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. So you probably liked the clip. We were doing some deep groove milling with the horizontal milling cutters and on the Cincinnati number 2 horizontal. Well, as you can see, we're still set up with the vertical milling attachment. We have one vise on here. So first thing we got to do is get this attachment off of here using our shop-built Skyhook type crane, and then get the second vise on there, get everything indicated in, and set up the horizontal cutter. So let's get started. Okay, we got our vices set. We've got everything set up, indicated in. It's completely perpendicular within 1 or 2 thou of the spindle itself. And this is the arbor and the cutter we're going to be using. This is a 6-inch by 1-inch milling cutter. So let's get this in the mill and get started. All right, so we got everything in position, oiled up, ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is touch off on our material with our cutter, but we're going to use a sheet of paper. It's about 4 thousandths thick. So we're going to take that piece of paper and just kind of hold it in there as we bring it in. And as soon as it grabs it, we know we have about 4 thousandths to go before we touch off. So let's get started. So what you just saw there was I was pushing it a little harder than I should have right off the bat. We stalled out the cutter, sheared the key, and now we get to disassemble the whole thing and replace the key in there that drives the cutter. Now, that's kind of the fail point, the weak point of the whole system, so that way if something does happen, you don't damage anything else. So let's tear it apart and get that fixed. Okay, no real damage other than my pride. That key sheared off nicely, and that's, like I said, that's the weak point, that's the fail point, and that's to protect the rest of the equipment. So now let's try this again, but a little less feed rate. Well, that went pretty good after a little hiccup there with the key. I bumped it up to 33 RPM from 25, and I was feeding at 1 1/4 a minute, and that was about perfect. The next step up is 1 3/4, and that's just too much. That's actually where I sheared the key, running 25 RPM. So staying at that 1 1/4 is perfect. We were 5/8 of an inch full depth, inch wide groove. We're actually going down in 1 3/4. We're doing this in a couple passes. Now, you're probably wondering why I have such a gap in here instead of bringing my supports in and getting it supported closer. It's clearance for the vise. This is going so deep that I got to have that clearance. So that's why I don't have it supported as well as I'd like it. But it does the job and it does it very well. So let's get it cranked in and get going on the next cut. All right, so our groove is all cut, 1 3/4 inch deep in 3 passes. I could probably cut that down to 2 passes if I wanted to really push it. But, you know, as it is, I just start it up, set it, and let it run. And it does a beautiful job. So now I get to do a little cleanup and then slide the whole works down and finish the cut. So let's. All right, so it's all moved down, set up, ready to go. Why don't we try a full depth cut? Or not the full 1 3/4 inch, but 7/8 inch. We'll do it in 2 passes. I'll just dial back my feet a little bit and we should be okay. Next step down is 7/8 inch per minute. That should be plenty. So let's give it a try, see what happens. So it's handling the cut extremely well. 7/8 of an inch deep, 1 inch wide with a 6 inch cutter, feeding at 7/8 of an inch per minute, 33 RPM. It's handling it really well. But here we have the issue. Because it's hanging off the end of the table, I'm losing my oil. So I just got a bucket here, I'll catch that oil. And actually I wanted to change out the oil in this anyway, so we'll just let it pump as much of it out as it wants to, and we'll take care of that later. Well, that went extremely well. I started in at 7/8 inch per minute, and I wound up bumping it back up to the 1 1/4 inch. It was cutting so good at 7/8 of an inch deep. So now I got one more pass, so let's get this thing finished up. So there you have it. 4 foot of bar, 1 3/4 deep, 1 inch wide. All milled with that cutter. And the first pass, we did 3 passes. The first section, we did 3 passes, 5/8, 5/8, and then 1/2 inch. And the second one, we did 2 full 7/8 depth of cut, feeding 1 1/4 inch a minute at 33 RPM. And it handled it just beautifully. So next time I run these, I'll remember that. So at the end there, you saw me tip the part up, and that was just so the oil will drain out. And then tomorrow I'll come out, and it should be fairly dry of oil. I can wipe it down and then get it over in the bandsaw and cut it into the smaller pieces. This is one component of a much smaller piece. I just make one big bar instead of having multiple little blocks and having to mill all these slots. I just do it in one cut. I can walk away from it while it's running. So very useful way to use a horizontal machine. These machines are, a lot of people say they're just not useful, they don't make money, they're unprofitable. Same with the shaper, you know, a lot of guys say that. You gotta get creative and find the use for them. There are uses for every one of these if you can figure out how to utilize them for the job at hand. And there's a lot of jobs these are really good at. This one, in fact, we took 7/8 of an inch depth of cut, inch wide cutter, 33 RPM, 1 1/4 inch a minute feed rate. And it cut beautifully. Did an excellent job on this. So, you know, you got to find the ways to utilize the equipment you have, or, you know, get creative. Play with it. Feel the machine as it's running. So with that, if anybody's looking for roll pins, I made a whole bunch of them, and I'll make you a good deal. So until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.